All right, so welcome back to another episode of Questionable Treatments, but this time it's me.
Yeah, you thought we were finished.
I thought that people deserve one more. You seemed incredulous at the idea that I might do an episode myself, and I really underestimated how much research this takes. I mean, I knew it took a lot, but this is really rough.
What did you text me today? I don't appreciate enough how much you do for this podcast.
No, I absolutely did not write that. I really didn't. I don't know what I wrote, something along those lines, but no, I would not have said that. I'm Ryan, the reluctant husband.
I'm Kim.
Joined by Kim, the cruel. And this time we're talking about a killer you probably heard of, because he showed up on a lot of lists, but it's not one we've talked about, Harold Shipman. You familiar with him?
No.
This is my notes.
Well, I don't know a lot of names of these people. I just know the actions that they did.
Okay.
So
Yeah, well,
we'll see.
He had a lot of really stupid nicknames. Like, they're all so fucking stupid. I hate it. Like, it makes me upset. I want to smash my laptop every time I read somebody being called Dr. Death or Angel of Death or something like that, because they're fucking all called that. Mm-hmm. Everybody, they're all like, oh, this doctor, was the Angel of Death. Though they became known as the Angel of Death in 1885, in 1985, in 1922. Like, there are so many of them.
Let me guess. Was this the doctor that they found a bunch of bodies in his house?
No.
Okay.
So Harold Shipman was born in 1946. He was really all that matters is he was a just like a normal kid, son of a truck driver. From what I was able to find, I found about 5 different sources, but a lot of them were really simple. A lot of them actually came from medical journals, because this was relatively recent in terms of what we do. So some of them were sort of just like news bulletins going out on medical journals. Mm-hmm. So, but he was, the first one in his family to go to college or to university. Son of a truck driver, born in 1946. In 1963, while studying for his A-levels, whatever that is.
I don't know.
There's a lot of British shit. There's a lot of British shit in everything that I've been researching today, which caused me to cut, like you saw, I had like 35 tabs in Chrome open. That's because every time I would run across some Harry Potter-ass sounding word, I'd have to click it and it would open a Wikipedia article about like what that means.
Yep.
So anyway.
Welcome to my world.
In 1963, his mother dies of lung cancer.
Okay.
And he was... Born in 46 or 63, he's 16, 17, yeah.
17.
So he doesn't talk about it, but this is pointed to as something that probably was like an inciting incident or a moment that caused his fascination, because basically they didn't know anything was wrong with her. Then she was diagnosed with a terminal type of cancer and a lung cancer, and really all they could do was give her morphine and try to keep her comfortable while she passed, like for the last few months.
That sounds a lot like what happened with Paulo.
Yeah, so that's his childhood, that's his origin story. Like, there's really not anything too bizarre with it. So a few years later, he enrolls at Leeds University Medical School. He's just a student, not really remarkable in any particular way. It's not one of those things where he's super creepy and he's torturing animals and he's doing all this stuff. It's not, and it's not like Paulo, where he's like this exceptional rising star either.
Yeah, he's just mundane. Yeah,
kind of a normal guy. So around the mid-60s, he meets his wife, meets and marries a girl named Primrose, which is super 60s British sounding name.
Yeah.
They eventually have 4 kids together.
Dang.
So normal-ish life.
Yeah.
In 1970, he qualifies as a doctor from this university and goes to the Pontefract General Infirmary in West Yorkshire.
Sounds like a very British hospital.
Yeah. So he's basically like a resident there, I think. He's a junior doctor, whatever. Some of the sources kind of called it out like that. Again, I don't know the British terminology, and even if I did, I don't know medical stuff that well. But the college starts to notice in the mid-70s, 1975, 1976 range, that pethidine is going missing, some kind of pain medication, an injectable pain medication.
Yeah, I don't know what the brand name is, but yeah, I've heard of it.
It's an opioid, but I don't know exactly
Drumroll.
what it is. Drumroll? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it said that it was an opioid. I don't know anything about it. Is this one that you know much about? Is this like a super serious one?
Yeah, it's one that a lot of people are addicted to. It's one that usually, if they're going to do any sort of like drug opioid thing, you know, like doctors where they do a lot of them, Drumroll is the one that they prescribe the most.
Okay. Well, it is found that he is injecting himself with between 600 and 700 milligrams of it a day to the point that his veins are beginning to collapse. He is caught. He is found out through an investigation at the hospital to have been forging prescriptions and loses his job. And
For himself?
Yes, essentially,
That's not very heard of.
He's trying to cover himself. So, he's
what do you need 700 milligrams for? I got a kidney stone.
He's fined over stealing these drugs. I think it was like acquiring drugs through deception or something like that.
Fined?
Yeah, fined.
He would have been sent to prison in the United States.
And forgery.
Uh-huh.
And the magistrate who oversees the case basically saying like, this is sad to see him in this position so early in his career, like what could be a promising career. And Shipman agrees to do rehab and basically therapy. And there's a warning from their version of like, you know, the healing arts or whatever, like the GMC, General Medical Council, I think is maybe what that stands for in Britain. But anyway, they give him a warning, but they don't actually take his medical license away. But he does have this on his record now.
I'm not surprised because I'm pretty sure that would be something that would be done in the United States. But if you do it again, you're done.
Yeah, because he was like 26-ish.
Now that's if the authorities
maybe a little
find
bit
out.
older.
If the authorities find out, they'll do that. But
actually, I think he might have been, he would have been about 30 at this time. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, but he probably, like, if it happened in the United States, the hospital would be like, get the fuck out, and then give him a nice recommendation to go somewhere else.
Yeah, so after he does all the stuff he's supposed to do, he's able to get another job. So he goes to a practice in Hyde, which is a suburb of Manchester. That I was just asking the computer about earlier. It's about 35,000 people today, so it's moderate size, not a big city at all, but it's not like a little tiny farming town either. And basically manages to make himself a pillar of the community. I actually saw that written in a couple different sources, that he is seen as like rude and blunt to his colleagues and other doctors, but his patients love him. I saw a little bit of a transcript of an interview with some of his former patients where they're talking about like, yeah, he was super popular. There was a year-long wait list to get in there. Like he's willing to make house calls. There are people saying like, it's hard to get in and you're going to wait a while, but he's going to sit and talk with you. He's going to like make sure he understands what's going on. He's very personable.
His practice.
He's a GP.
He's just a GP. Okay. You didn't say what he
went
in for.
Yeah, he's just a GP.
Okay.
GP in a smallish town. So in the 80s, he's killing people.
Shocking.
But it's at a low rate. So this is why his story is not great. Like, I don't love this story. Like, it was interesting when I started reading about the court case, but less interesting when you get kind of the whole story. So he is killing people. Don't know why. So he's killing patients. Typically the pattern is he does a home visit for something relatively minor. You know, patients that are usually older, but there is something going on with them. He gives them some kind of lethal injection of diamorphine, and then he does this when the relatives are out of the room. He alters their medical records or any notes that have been taken to basically say the patient had something that was really wrong with them that was potentially lethal. And yeah, he calls the coroner. He offers to write up the death certificate himself to put on the reason and everything, and then encourages the families to not request any kind of autopsy or investigation after the fact and pushes them towards cremation. So
my first thought would be, why?
Well, that's one of the problems. So he does have pauses. There are times where he kind of stops for a little while because there are authors and investigators that I read about in this who talk about that he would have nurses that get suspicious, like, hey, every time he goes on a house call, somebody gets really sick or something happens. Like, it seems really unlikely that every time he goes out to see somebody at their home, somebody dies. Like, this is weird. So when people start asking questions, he stops for a little while. So it doesn't look like as much of a pattern, but then he starts again. One of the people who was quoted in these articles, named Janet Smith, was describing it as though he was entering the pool from the shallow end to see if he could swim again.
I have heard of this case. I've only seen like a snippet of it because there's a Netflix show about it. It's like a 5 or 6 episode show about it.
Yeah, there's some kind of documentary about it.
But it's just a little snippet. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch very much. I'm not usually very interested in stuff that didn't happen in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's just all very
well,
different
this happened
terms.
in the land of our colonial masters, so
It's just a bunch of weird terms and stuff
yeah,
that I've never
well,
heard
I spent
before.
half my day trying to figure out what some of this stuff was. So I kind of I'm speaking out of order a little bit. It was in 92 where he started his own practice. Again, some sources say that because he was so gruff with his coworkers, like rude, whatever, arrogant, whatever, with other doctors, that's sort of what forced him to open his own practice. So he was super popular as a GP when he was in another practice, and then he started his own. But the theory is that without anybody to watch him, no other doctors around or whatever, and everybody else that's there works for him, does what he says, like he can control where they are and what they're seeing.
Was he with the patients
The
when they were
killing
dying?
starts to escalate. Yeah, he was in the house.
But he was like right next to him watching and everything.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
So at least 143 people were killed
What?
between 1992 and 1998.
What?
The worst year for it was 1997,
Year
where
old.
he was killing somebody on an average of every 10 days. 37 people that year.
Oh my God. Holy shit. And these
So-
were old people?
Mostly.
No.
Mostly older, mostly female.
No, mostly. What does he have against females?
One of the investigators, I don't know if I have it in here. One of the investigators was basically saying like it's hard to see if there's really a pattern, because if you were to say like he had, it's like most shark attacks occur in like shallow water. It's like because that's where the people are.
It's where the murkiest.
They were
Yeah.
saying but that's where the people are.
Yeah,
People aren't swimming out with nothing in the middle of the ocean.
that's true.
So they were saying like, well, this guy's a GP and he's making house calls for elderly patients. So that's the most likely thing. But it was like 75% of them were women too. I don't know. I don't think I have that statistic on here, but it was in one of the sources. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to it. Maybe I do have it, but
Yeah, and they didn't sign anything over to him?
here we go. I'll get to it later.
Yeah.
No, for the most part, no.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's, whatever. You keep trying to jump way ahead of me. So there are issues in 98.
Well, Jesus Christ,
There's
I'm
another
sorry.
general practitioner in Hyde who is asked to co-sign cremation forms. He's seeing some of these reports coming through and is spotting a pattern. There's also a taxi driver who notices this pattern, taking people to and from this particular surgery or this doctor's office. And both of them are reporting this to police. The investigation is closed in April of 98 for insufficient evidence. By this stage, he's killing one a week. Then, June 23rd, 98, Kathleen Grundy, aged 81,
Great last name.
former mayor, or it says mayoress. I guess they have a gendered version of mayor in England, or in
Well,
English.
Every country besides the U.S. has gendered words.
I mean, we do too, to an extent, but not mayor.
Yeah,
Mayor's
she
not
and
one of
he.
them. No, actor, actress, waiter, waitress, host, hostess, stuff like that. But we don't have that for mayor, or at least not that I've ever heard. So I guess she was the mayor of Hyde at some point. So she's still active in her social life. She's like my mom. She's got the old bitty squad. She has people she goes and hangs out with. She's apparently doing charity work. She's doing all kinds of stuff. She goes to Shipman, who's her GP, and she gets her ears syringed.
Oh, cleaned out, yeah.
Is that what that means? Just like spraying
Flushed.
stuff in there? Okay,
Flushed, yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'll come by tomorrow and see how you're doing.
Uh-oh.
So she's like, bet. So he visits the next day. 4 hours later, her friends find her sitting up fully clothed, dead on her couch. They call Shipman back. He says that she died of cardiac arrest, calls the coroner, and offers to write the death certificate citing old age as the cause. So, the problem with this particular one, apart from the fact that even though she was 81, she was very active and healthy, and all she had was her ears washed out. Her daughter, Angela, is a lawyer.
Uh-oh.
And doesn't want to go with cremation, and finds out in July that she's been written out of her mother's will. The new will, which was written like a couple weeks, or is dated as a couple weeks before her mother died, was poorly written on like clearly some kind of not well-maintained typewriter in 98, which is kind of weird, and has a signature that is obviously not in her mother's handwriting. Oh, and is also sent to a lawyer that has never represented Grundy before. So that's the other weird thing. And it leaves the entire estate like 780,000 pounds and like houses and whatever, all this stuff. So that, I mean, that's a lot in 98.
Yeah.
Because the pound was worth way more than the dollar, I think, back then. Anyway, and it has, according to one of the sources, it was like, you know, my children are well off, my family's well off, like I want to leave my entire estate to my physician for the wonderful work he's done for this town and blah, blah, blah. Like trying to make it sound like it's a really charitable thing to do that and to help take care of this doctor.
I wish that was nowadays. I'd feel nice to be appreciated.
So she goes to the police, the daughter, and the police don't want to do anything. And then when she tells them that she's an attorney, they finally start to take her seriously. So that's not good.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Pretty typical for all police
I know it's
everywhere.
typical, but I don't like that. That's not good. That's not good that you have to be like, if you're just a normal person, you're like, hey, that's not my mom's signature. I've never seen a document that looked like this from my mom. My mom doesn't know this lawyer. I've never heard of them before. Like, why would she have this person be the one to do her will when it's been this lawyer the entire time?
Yeah.
So anyway, when they realize that she's a lawyer, they actually go, okay, I guess fine, we'll look at her. So the body is exhumed. Her liver contains lethal levels of morphine.
Okay.
In one of the murders, I don't know if I have it written down here, but he injected somebody, it was like 12,000 milligrams of morphine, which they said in the investigation report would have been enough to kill like 350 people.
It's enough to kill like a lot of elephants.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's like super excessive.
He's like, I'm going to kill you and you're going to stay dead.
So the typewriter is found in his surgery. And
okay, first off, how do you know what typewriter wrote a paper?
Because typewriters will usually have characteristics.
Like each individual typewriter, like the ridges on a shark's fin?
Kind of. I mean, you might just notice like the I on it looks like this, or the dot is very light, or the way it prints the T looks this particular way, or certain letters are going to be misaligned. It's in a lot of old mystery books. And I've definitely noticed I have like, a lot.
At least
I don't know how many. I have a lot of old typewriters and they all look differently.
The amount of cameras you have is probably about the same amount of typewriters you have.
No, I have a lot more cameras.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep finding more fucking typewriters. I just found one that plugs in.
Yeah.
Why
you didn't find it. I told you it was there. You found the case.
Which had it in it. That's finding it.
Yeah, but I was like, do you know what that is? You went,
said,
probably
no.
a typewriter?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but it's a typewriter I used when I was a little kid.
Yeah, because you were born in the 11-somethings.
Yeah, back when electric typewriters were a thing. Me and Henry VIII were conversing via electric typewriter, which is why I know all their Harry Potter words. So the typewriter's found in his surgery, and also, you know how he uses real ink and ribbons and all that? Mm-hmm. His fingerprint is on the will in ink. So, not great. Not great.
Dum-dum.
He's
stupid.
arrested for murder, or on suspicion of murder, on September 7th of 1998. And police begin to go through decades of death certificates and find 14 more suspicious cases. So, January 31st of 2000, or thereabouts, he's convicted of 15 murders and 1 count of forgery.
Okay, why are he's only arrested for 1 murder. How do we get to 15?
I just told you, they started going through death certificates and found 14 more suspicious cases.
Well, I'm sorry.
I should say that in the cases, the instances, according to the inquiry report, in the cases where the families did not cremate and they were able to exhume the bodies, there were traces of morphine in every single one of them.
Okay.
Every single body that they were able to test had like lethal levels of morphine that were still detectable.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't charge him with either conspiracy to commit murder for the rest of the 143.
Well, so if I'm understanding the terms right, the prosecutor tells the court that this guy exercised the ultimate power over life and death often enough to have like gotten a taste for it. And they're kind of making the argument in some of these reports that he was addicted to it, the same way that he was addicted to that opioid that he was taking when he was at the hospital when he was in his like mid-20s.
Like he's gone rogue.
Right. He gets 15 life sentences, told he will never be released, cries throughout the trial, maintains his innocence. He refuses psychiatric examination after he's convicted, never explains himself, never talks about any motive. Grundy is the only time he changed anybody's will or did any of this stuff. Like all the rest of them, there was no reason why he did it. Nobody knew it was happening. He wasn't poisoning somebody so that he could come back and save them. He wasn't doing it in an attempt to make some risky medical procedure work. He was just doing it for himself, basically.
That's just weird.
It's really, really strange, yeah. And it's
Like,
where people go back to his childhood with his mother and say him watching her die, being pumped full of morphine, is the only thing that kind of makes sense.
it's just weird because everybody has a motive, you know? What's his butt? Oh my God, he ate people. He had sex with men and he ate people. Dahmer. He did it because he was disgusted with himself because he liked men. Mm-hmm. And he would fuck men, kill them, and then eat them. And then you have, I can't even think the other people. My brain shut off after work. You have all of these other ones that have a motive, like where you think that they don't. Charlie Manson. Manson?
Yeah.
Manson.
That documentary we've been watching.
Yeah. He did it because he was trying to get back at the black gang. That's why he started killing people. That's why he was killing people. He was trying to blame it on them.
Wasn't it that he was trying to frame them because of a drug deal that went bad?
No.
He was trying to make it look like the Panthers did it?
Yes. But it's not because of it is because of a drug deal.
It sparked off with that drug deal that went bad. And then,
yeah.
But because the black drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
Said that he was going to send the Black Panthers after them.
Yes.
And that's when Manson shot him.
Yes.
Manson didn't want a problem with the guy, or at least I think that's what, I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to it, but I saw that part.
Yeah.
The guy that went from the Manson cult to meet this guy, it was just like a normal routine thing, but something went wrong.
He claimed, so the guy from the cult claimed that he knew this guy who was going to give them good drugs. Paid him a bunch of money for this drug deal. Gave him bad drugs. The MC or whatever, the motorcycle club.
Oh.
Came back, said, we got super sick from this. We want our money back. They went back to try to get the money. And when they started to hash out an actual deal, they killed him.
Okay. Well, then they killed two
Manson.
drug dealers.
Yeah, Manson came in.
Because that was a
him.
white drug dealer that they killed. There was another one who was black who specifically said, anyway.
Yeah.
I get what you're
That's
saying, that like it seems completely impenetrable from the outside, but when they're laying out like the sequence of events, and it's like they're terrified that this guy's actually connected to the Black Panthers, because it seemed like they were sympathetic with the Black Panthers.
They didn't give two shits about the Black Panthers.
Well, but it seemed like they understood what was going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we get why they're doing what they're doing, but they didn't want to be involved with them. And then they were afraid that they were going to come for them, that they were actually connected with this guy.
Yeah, and then Manson
And then they're trying to blame stuff on them, use them as a scapegoat when it's their people killing people.
Yeah, yeah. So there's always a motive. It's just weird that we haven't found one with this guy.
Yeah. Well, there's a public inquiry chaired by Dame Janet Smith, and it's a fairly long document, but they confirm in it 215 murders.
Oh my God.
They suspect 45 more, and they suspect 45 more between 75 and 98. The years between 1975 and 1998 that they can't prove.
Damn.
And then they start digging further later on, and they potentially find some more, but Smith basically says no. We're never going to find out why this guy was doing what he's doing. He refuses to participate in anything, and that he may just be addicted to killing. And one of the reasons we'll never know is because on the 13th of January in 2004, a day before his 58th birthday, he hanged himself with a bed sheet in his cell at Wakefield Prison. He had given no previous indications that he was suicidal or was considering doing this, but dying before the age of 60, I don't understand the NHS like pension schemes, but apparently dying before the age of 60 makes sure that Primrose and his children get a tax-free lump sum and an annual pension payment.
From the government?
From the government.
Just for being
alive. From the health system. Because they lost the breadwinner. They lost their...
But they lost
the guy.
him because he went to prison.
Because he killed himself. For some reason, I think the laws were changed after this, is what I was reading. But she got I don't know. I saw two different numbers, and one of the articles I read was from ABC, like Australia, the Australian Broadcasting Company, and they were listing amounts in dollars. So I don't know if they said $200,000. I don't know if that's American dollars, Australian dollars, or if they meant pounds. But it's between 100,000 to 200,000 pounds that they get per year, and then like 20, or not per year, that they got as lump sum, and like 20,000 per year.
God dang.
As the pension to help out.
I was gonna say, it's just that shows that he's not a true like psychopath or narcissist. Because if he was, he wouldn't give a flying fuck what happened to his family.
Right, he did what he did, so they would be at least taken care of a little bit.
But that's what we assume.
Well, that's what it appears to be. Maybe it was a final act to throw everybody off.
Maybe. I don't know.
So in 2005, the final 5,000-page report is released, compiled from 2,500 witness statements and 270,000 pages of evidence. Through this, they find that starting in 1971, because they'd only look back to 75, and there were points where his medical, like, what would you call it? Like the forgeries, the stealing medications was overlooked. He either covered it up, or the places he worked didn't look at. So nobody knew that this guy should even be watched at all. They didn't know there was anything funny about his past. But they estimate that there was another potentially 24 people that he killed between 71, when he was basically a resident, and 75.
Before the 45.
Before the 45. So in total, they think he might have killed around 284 people, making him the most prolific serial killer in British history that we know of.
World history.
So, yeah, it apparently changed the way the GMC validates, controls drug monitoring, the way they do cremation certification. They don't allow this anymore, where the doctor is the only one there who's there with the patient. The patient dies, the doctor signs off on the death certificate, the doctor recommends cremation. There has to be more people involved in that now. There's different whistleblowing procedures, all kinds of stuff happens. But, yeah. He is definitively said to have killed 215. Strong suspicion of 45 more. Broader estimates between 250 and 284 dating back to 1971. Of the 215 confirmed victims, 171 were women and 44 were men. Mostly elderly, mostly in decent health before. The youngest victim, and they believe also might be his first victim, was a 4-year-old that he was caring for in 1972. And the story there is that I don't think I have it. Did I not put it on here? Shit. He was taking care of this patient who was quadriplegic and had a couple other issues, like, seriously had problems. But he encouraged her mother to go down the hall, get a cup of coffee or tea or something like that. She came back 10 minutes later and her daughter was dead. Nobody knew what happened. He was the only one with her. And yeah, there were accounts and interviews where they were saying, the family members were saying that he'd be telling them, oh, I was just examining them and I turned around to do this and I was calling an ambulance because they started having trouble breathing. They coughed once and then they died. Oh, they just died while I was examining them. Really, really unlikely, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's always telltale signs that somebody's about ready to die.
Yeah, but they don't know why he did any of what he was doing. He potentially killed a little kid. But yeah, he would go to people's homes for minor issues. Maybe he certify the death himself, say there was natural causes, say they had something else going on. I mean, we've seen that before, falsifying medical records to say that they had some kind of underlying thing. Yeah. But yeah, he
maybe he thought that he was helping these people.
I don't
Kevorkian.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Kevorkian was just interested in death and wanted to see how it functioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they talk about the escalation pattern being fairly typical, that once a healthcare professional who's killing people realizes that nobody is stopping them, there's more of a compulsion to that behavior and they start doing it more and more. Some of the people that were investigating it theorized that he wanted to be caught. Some of them were basically saying that some of these serial killers get so brazen, especially in the medical field, because they're amazed that they haven't been caught yet. And they're like, they're not going to catch anything, almost to the point where they feel like they could just do it right in front of somebody. Yeah. And nobody's going to do anything about it.
Pretty typical though, yeah.
Yeah, so There's another case that's not medical, but that was not satisfying because there's nothing about why he was doing it. But what I found researching this was that Hyde already had serial killers before this. This little town of 35,000 today already had serial killers before. So have you ever heard of the Moors murders? Mm-mm. The Moors being like, fields or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Like a certain type of landscape. Okay, so there's a guy named Ian.
Okay.
Ian is born in January of 38 in Glasgow. He's born as Ian Duncan Stewart. His mother is Peggy Stewart. She's an unmarried waitress. His father was supposedly a Glasgow newspaper worker, reporter, worked at, I don't know exactly what he was. Nobody can really confirm that this is true, it looks like. So, unable to support him very effectively, his mother places him with Mary and John Sloan in what's supposed to be some kind of slum. I really don't know. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of projects in these council houses, which are sort of like projects, I guess Section 8 housing here. Mm-hmm. There were projects, government projects after the war to move people out of the slums, to empty the slums and put them into these council houses, which apparently pretty much worked. In most cases really did help people. I've read a lot about the things that Britain did to improve access to homes.
Yeah.
Being really, really helpful after the war. I realize as I'm editing that I never effectively say it, but a lot of what takes place either in these council houses with people who've been moved to them, and a lot of the movements involve these relocations. So this is something that I didn't actually find until later. I found some other articles about this, but his mother actually visited him, but he didn't know it was his mother. He knew it was some woman named Peggy. Mm-hmm. Some of the articles said that she called herself Aunt Peggy. I couldn't really find very many that said anything like that. They just said that she would come to visit as just Peggy, but he didn't know that that was his mom until he was about 12 years old. And, who knows if that really had anything to do with the way he came up. But he was basically in and out of trouble all the time. He took the last name Sloan while he was with them. There are people who claim that he boasted about killing a cat when he was 10, doing all kinds of awful stuff with animals, breaking into houses and things like that when he was little. Yeah, housebreaking and theft, first court appearance when he was 13, 2 more by the age of 16, placed on probation each time rather than being sent somewhere else.
Juvenile detention.
Yeah, was apparently fairly smart, passing qualifying exams for different schools, and wound up going to a school that was specifically for higher achieving students, but then kind of just coasted through it rather than really, something you hear a lot.
Sounds like he's a
smart
psychopath.
Students, once they get into where they're supposed to be, they're just kind of
there.
Yeah, they don't really do a whole lot. They don't really apply themselves very much. But yeah, they said that he was pretty solitary as a kid, preferred his own company. There are accounts of cruelty to animals, burning things. These are things that people said about him, people that went to school with him and stuff years later. And he disputed some of those, but he disputed a lot of what he did. So he, when he was a teenager, he got fascinated with the Nazis.
Oh.
He was apparently very interested in reading about Nazi Germany and their iconography, the speeches. He was teaching himself little bits of German through books and read Mein Kampf. He, just admired a lot of that. He also read a bunch from from this French nobleman named Sada or something. His last name was Sade, which put me onto a 45-minute thing of reading about this guy, this Marquis de Sada or whatever his title was, who that's where the word sadism comes from.
Really?
Because he was accused of having sex with prostitutes and mistresses and having wanting them to beat him and put stuff up his butt and say blasphemous things. There was a prostitute that he hired, and then she went to the police and was he made me step on a cross, and he was tried to get me to beat him with a hot iron, a hot poker, and tried to get me to put stuff in his butt and whatever. And then he would basically get chased out of some place, and then he would go back to a castle that he owned and throw an orgy with a bunch of his servants. And then people get suspicious, so they'd send the servants away somewhere else for a while they healed from the marks and stuff that they had. He had a manservant or a valet or whatever, depending on which article you're reading about this guy. And he would take that dude with him, and they would do each other. They would get 4 or 5 girls together, and they'd all be doing it's wild stuff.
Oh my God.
And it's hard to tell tell what's real, because the only like really confirmed stuff is he slept with some prostitutes and he had like an orgy with his valet and like 4 teenage servant girls. And I just had to stop reading because it's like I could read this all day. This is not going to get me anywhere. I need to keep moving with this.
You should have done a case on him.
Yeah. So anyway, in 1954, this guy has his 3rd court appearance, and part of his probation is that he has to leave Glasgow and live with his mother in Manchester. She married a guy named Patrick Brady, who was an Irish fruit market porter. And Ian took his stepfather's last name, which is where Brady comes from. Nothing to indicate that he was particularly close to the Sloanes or to his stepfather Patrick. He just took the name that made sense for the family. That's probably just like a socially acceptable thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Patrick got him a job, but he was caught in 1955 with stolen lead seals. That seems like a British thing. I looked that up, a seal being like, you know, what you seal an envelope with that has, has like a
wax seals.
Yeah, it has like a significance.
Yeah.
I don't know. But whatever. He was sentenced to 2 years at a borstal, which is a Harry Potter word for like a work school, like a work, what would we call it? Like a reform prison kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like they send them there to have them work and train rather than just like rot in a cell.
Yeah.
Because they're young.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just made him worse. He was caught brewing alcohol and gambling and like was passed out drunk drinking like toilet wine that he was making at these places. He was sent to a different one that was more harsh and got out in 57 with basically more contempt for authority, more interest in Nazis, more interest in criminality, and he just came out like the worst version of himself, which I find really, really interesting, just from like they don't have those anymore. Borstals don't exist in England anymore. They were kind of eliminated at the end of the last century. Uh-huh. Probably because kids would come out like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, took a couple jobs, didn't really go anywhere with those. So he teaches himself bookkeeping and becomes a stock clerk at Millward's Merchandising, a chemical distribution firm in Gorton. My voice cut out. It wasn't even the microphone. My voice just stopped.
My voice is like, nope.
Yeah, he was apparently competent, quiet, kind of unremarkable, like did his work. But yeah, he was reading about, the Marquis of Sade. You know, it's so interesting. I'm not even going to talk anymore about it. Nietzsche, the Übermensch, all that sort of stuff. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, which he seems to have read as kind of like a manual for criminality as opposed to a warning. Mm-hmm. Nazi material, Mein Kampf, talking about camps, records of Nuremberg rally speeches. He played at home. He had like a little collection of memorabilia as well, which is just super cool in like the 1960s, like 20 years after World War II, to have some punk kid listening to records or in reel-to-reel tapes of Hitler delivering speeches.
Oh my God.
During the war. So yeah, he was just really interested in like perfect murders. There was a whole section that I found about, I think it was a movie or a play or something. I don't know. This is something that I was researching after the fact, where it's like, this is so interesting that there were other serial killers in this town. Yeah. But yeah, he kind of got obsessed with the idea of the perfect crime and would frequently talk about robbing banks. He was planning to rob banks, like a lot.
Oh my God.
And when he was trying to learn to use guns, him and his girlfriend, who I'll talk about next, they discovered that they weren't very good with guns, but that they liked photography. I don't really know how that came out. I'm assuming that's because they were trying to case places, but photography became kind of a big thing for him. And that'll come back later, like he had a Brownie, but he got something better later, and then like darkroom equipment at home. Yeah. So yeah, they had photos that were trophies of some of the stuff that they had done, which is...
Most serial killers keep
trophies. They have something. So the next person in this is Myra Hindley. I'll try to be quicker with her. She was born in July of 1942. Her dad was a former paratrooper. He was apparently a heavy drinker and violent with his family, but he wanted her to be tough because he was in the war. And one of the stories that I read about was that she was bullied by a kid. Oh, she was scratched by a kid on her cheek. Drew blood, a boy. Mm-hmm. And she ran and told her father, and he was like, basically, you got to go stand up for yourself. Like, get back out there. And she beat this kid up. So she was a little kid with violence at home, being encouraged
to do violence.
Being rewarded for violence outside the house. Yeah. So that's, probably a really, really bad way to bring up a kid.
Yeah, it's not great.
So she had a sister named Maureen, born in 46, and the family was super poor. Myra already like slept in a little bed next to her parents' bed. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of these videos of like poor slum houses in England back in the day, but it's apparently like that. So she was sent to live with her grandmother just a few doors down and was there for most of her childhood. So it's kind of interesting. Both of them sent away from their families, like living kind of nearby them, having some involvement with them, but not being with them.
Yeah.
So in 57, a 13-year-old friend, Michael Higgins, drowned in this reservoir that they were supposed to go swimming in. He had invited her. She didn't want to go. She was apparently devastated and blamed herself because she was a good swimmer and she thought that she could have saved him if she was there.
Yeah.
She converted to Catholicism. She was really interested in being baptized, was interested in the church, but her mom didn't want her going to a Catholic school. So it's just really, I find that odd that she was drawn to that until she met Brady. So she left school when she was a teenager. A lot of people do. She worked at different jobs as like a clerk or a typist or whatever, like getting tea for people, stuff like that. Yeah. She was engaged at the age of 17, broke it off with this guy. Basically just said that she didn't want the normal life. Children, a normal wage job, whatever. She read romance fiction, did all kinds of, rebellious kid stuff.
Yeah.
But she started as a typist at Millward's, the same place that Brady was working, and she became obsessed with him over the time that she was there. But they didn't talk, not at first. He was 23, she was 18 at that time. And she had a diary. And she would talk about like guys that she was seeing and other things going on, but she was like obsessed with this dude. So finally, later, in 1961, they have their first date. I don't know what year. Yeah, January of 61. So it's December of 61 that they have their first date. And they go to see a movie and whatever. They go out for drinks and they basically become a thing. And she like totally buys into all of his shit.
Oh,
She like buys into the Aryan thing. She dyes her hair. They said bleaching it. I don't know if she bleached it or dyed it, but she became blonde. Her hair looks white in most of the pictures. Like they're black and white, but you can tell when the hair is white. Mm-hmm. She wore black. She wore like high boots and leather jackets and stuff that was kind of rebellious and risque back then. Kind of, yeah. So she was reading Desada, Nazi material. She learned some German phrases. They took some fairly illicit photos for, the 60s in England back then. And yeah, she would drive. This was an interesting thing. They used to rent vans and stuff a lot, and they would use vans in their crimes. They even used a van to try to plan a bank robbery. They used it as their spot to actually like plan it.
Interesting.
But they didn't ever wind up doing any of it. They joined this gun club and they got some guns there, but again, never used them. And she wound up getting some car eventually, some kind of like pickup, mini pickup. I didn't know Mini made a pickup. I don't know. Either way, so for whatever reason, and this is another thing that I don't totally understand. I don't know why they did this. I know they were obsessed with the crime. And the story that they were obsessed with was two underage kids who kill another kid, basically, that they don't know. And the crux of the story is they have no connection to the kid that they kill, and they're too young to be seriously considered. Mm-hmm. For some reason, this is like an inspiration for these guys. None of this makes any sense.
Probably because they think they're still kids themselves.
I don't know. They're just like really nihilistic. I just don't get it. But they had a system. Brady would choose their victims for the most part.
So they were killing together?
They were killing together.
Okay.
He would be the one to choose their victims. In certain circumstances, he would ride this motorcycle ahead of her, and he would like flash his lights when he saw an appropriate victim on the side of the road to signal to her in the vehicle behind to like pull over and ask this person for help or whatever. The moor was wet. It was just a peat bog. It was an easy place. It was minutes from town. It was basically empty. They went there a lot anyway, so they kind of knew the area, and it was just a good place to hide something you don't want found. Mm-hmm. And they would use the pictures as their trophies. So that comes into play later. So the first victim that we know about is John Kilbride. In November of 63, he is basically just approached. I think he's walking somewhere, like he's just out. Hindley approaches him, says that she needs some kind of help, and will take him home afterward. For the most part, what they say she asked him is that she lost some, like her gloves blew away into the moor, and would you come help me look for them? Mm-hmm. And so she gets him in the car, takes them to the moor. Brady is usually there. He is the one who supposedly is the one who kills them for the most part.
How do they kill him?
Different ways. This kid is strangled with a cord,
Oh.
but he is apparently sexually assaulted by Brady.
Oh.
How
great.
Body recovered in 1965, October
And they
1965.
find like abrasions and tears and bruises or whatever else?
I think because the peat bog, some of the evidence is fairly well preserved. Yeah. And they also admit to a lot of the stuff while they're in prison.
Oh.
So Keith Bennett is also 12, walking to his grandmother's house. Hindley stops and asks him to help load some stuff into her van, saying that she'll run him home afterwards. Brady's hiding in the back. They take him to the moor, same thing. Assaulted, strangled with some kind of rope or string. He's one of the victims that's never been found.
Really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Although, well, there's a little bit more. Leslie Ann Downey, 10-year-old girl. They bring her back to their apartment. They take pictures of her. There's like a 16-minute audio recording of her like begging for her life, basically, that they played in court.
Oh my God.
Like, it's horrific. And yeah, I'm not even going to say anything more about her, but her body was eventually found in 1965 as well. The one that got him, though, was Edward Evans. He was 17. He was the oldest victim that they had. So they had, I think, what Brady thought was like a partner. Mm-hmm. I forget, David Smith, I think was his name. That was Maureen's husband. He was like 16, 17 when they got married. Mm-hmm. I think because Maureen got pregnant, so it was like a shotgun wedding kind of thing, even though it seemed like her family wasn't super into them getting married. Sorry, gotta cut in again here. I'm not sure if I ever make it clear that Maureen is Myra Hindley's sister. So that's why they have any connection to them. But they wound up living near Brady and Hindley. Am I talking sense? Mm-hmm. Are you following me? Mm-hmm. And they liked each other.
Yeah.
Brady and Smith got along. They talked about robbing banks together casually. Like they'd have a bottle of wine and be like, yeah, I'm going to rob this bank. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to put on this mask and go in here and you're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And they have like plans written out. Yeah. So they have this kid over, this 17-year-old guy who is an apprentice engineer. I'm guessing, I don't know how they met each other. It really doesn't matter. It's the only victim, I think, that was not lured by Hindley, because she was the one who was like, oh, could you help me find my glove? Could you help me load? Like, I think with Leslie Ann Downey, they dropped some of their shopping bags accidentally in front of her. We're like, oh, could you help us just carry that over to the car? And then they toss her in the car too. So
like, oh, great, thank you. You're coming with.
Yeah, so this kid they brought back, and from what I read, Brady was introducing Hindley as his sister, and it was going to be like a homosexual encounter between Brady and Evans. So again, they're like having wine and stuff like that, and Smith, knows that they're up to stuff, and they've been talking about like robbing banks and all that, and that's sort of a loyalty test. But when they try whatever it is they're going to do to Evans, and it's unclear what happens, just that they're screaming from the apartment. David comes down. He's waiting outside for some kind of signal. He doesn't really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Hindley comes and gets him like, hey, stand out here until we like flash these lights, and then you come in because we need you for something. And so it's like some pretense of him being there to pick up wine or something like that. And he comes in, and this kid fights back and winds up hurting Brady's ankle. And he's laid out on the couch with his legs on the floor, and Smith sees Brady kill him with a hatchet. He hits him in the head with a hatchet, and they have an interview with him where he's talking about like the sound of it. Like he remembers the sound of the kid getting hit, and then he's still alive, so they strangle him with like a lamp cord. Anyway, because again, he's older than the other ones, he's heavy. Brady's hurt his ankle. Smith can't carry him out on his own, so they wrap him in plastic, put him in the guest room, lock it, trying to figure out what to do later. Smith reportedly goes back to his apartment, asks his wife for like a cup of tea or something like that, sits down, drinks a little of it, pukes all over the place, tells her everything he saw. The next morning, gets like a knife and a screwdriver and whatever he can find as an improvised weapon, goes to find a phone, calls the police, they come pick him up, he tells them everything. And so they come back disguised as like a milkman or something like that, like wearing some kind of uniform over their police gear. And they're like, oh, Miss Hindley, is your husband home? She's like, oh no, I'm not married, there's no man up there. And they're like, we know what's up. So I don't know what the fuck the point of the disguise was.
Yeah.
But they go up and they're like, okay, what's in that room? They're like, our keys are at work. They're like, we'll drive you to work to get your keys. And Brady tells her, just give them to him. So they find the body. They arrest him. It's wild. Yeah. So early hours of October 7th, 65. Smith tells Maureen everything. They go to a phone box, call the police. Yeah, Baker's overalls. That's what they wear. Hindley doesn't say anything, and they don't arrest her. They let her go. She insists on coming with and bringing her dog named Puppet with her, who's featured in a lot of the pictures. And they let her go on like the promise that she'll come back later when they need her. But she's eventually arrested on the 11th. So the police end up finding a luggage ticket. And Smith tells the police that this guy has a thing for train stations. So they go, okay. So they go to the train station. They turn in this ticket. They get a suitcase back. And or actually, according to some of these notes, it's 2 cases. Either way, it's full of photos, tapes, files, documents, including the audio recording of them killing Downey, photos of Downey, photos of themselves and some of the other things that they've done, like some of the risque photos of her. And the most interesting part to me, and what I think is a little bit impressive about this, is they notice that some of the photos are like totally innocent. There's a photo that's on the Wikipedia page of her holding her dog. You know, just 23-year-old, whatever she is, like 23, 24-year-old girl holding a dog on the moor.
Yeah.
And so they go, why would they not have wanted us to find these? So they start searching the moor, looking for the locations where these pictures were taken. And they find that the picture where she's sitting there holding the dog, she's on the grave of Kilbride. Like, they are taking pictures after the murders and after the bodies have been dumped. So that's how they find the first few.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Okay, I promise this should be the last time I cut in, but I'm realizing editing this that I forgot to include a detail I should have, because I'm not good at this. Kim, her research is so good, I didn't realize how hard this was. But they used a vet, some expert vet, to examine Puppet the dog so that they could date these photos by judging the dog's age at the time of the trial and then trying to estimate the dog's age at the time the photos were taken. And unfortunately, the sedative that was used for the dog during the examination, the dog never recovered from. So this whole thing is such a bloodbath, even the dog dies. Yeah, so there's really not a lot more that I really want to go through. Like, there's a lot more to it because they live whole lives. There are more victims that they find later. The first of their victims was Pauline Reed or Reedy. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Reade. She was 16. She knew Hindley. They did the thing where he's riding the motorcycle ahead. He's signaling. He signals for a little girl first, but Hindley recognizes her. Like, no, this kid lives like 2 or 3 doors down from us. They don't do anything. They don't mess with anybody who lives too close to them that has any kind of connection to them. He passes her, signals again. They pick her up. She knows, Pauline knows, I think Myra's sister, Maureen, so she kind of recognized her a little bit. And, oh, this is my classmate's sister. Why would I not, accept a ride from them? She was assaulted, killed, throat was cut, according to some of the articles, nearly decapitated, buried on the moor, recorded as missing, probably run off. And they didn't find her body until 1987.
Damn.
She had been, I think what I read was that she had been on the way to a party and her clothes were exceptionally well preserved from being in the peat. And her family was able to recognize the clothes when they found that. They suspect that there may be others. And towards the end of his life, Brady said that he knew where Keith Bennett was and could get them within 20 meters, but the police wouldn't let him out. I found it really interesting that that is to say Brady, wanted to be in prison. So what I read was 6 months before this happened, or 6 months before their trial, they got rid of the death penalty. So they just have life in prison. He's convicted of killing Kilbride, Downey, and Evans and given 3 concurrent life sentences. Hindley is convicted of murdering Evans and Downey and of harboring Brady, knowing that he had killed Kilbride, because their story was she would lure them into the vehicle. he would take them out and do whatever he was going to do. And she claimed that she wasn't there for most of it. She was saying that while he was pulling Downey's clothes off, she was in the kitchen. While she was begging for her life, she was running a bath. All these things where she just didn't happen to be in the room, trying to like give her some plausibility that she was like, I didn't really know what was going on.
Downplay her actions.
Yeah, he tried to claim that in her case, 2 other guys had brought her there and were doing something in their apartment and then took her somewhere else alive, as though that's like better somehow. It's really, really bizarre.
Anything to try to be found innocent.
What I also found a little bit sad is that David Smith was basically hated by his community. Like, there are accounts of him and his wife being attacked physically. All right, I lied because my first episode is a shit show, but there's a detail I left out here. He was offered about $20,000 in today's money from a British paper, along with recurring royalties for reporting on this story. And an American paper offered him the equivalent of £100,000 in today's money. He accepted the offer from the British paper, and the court found out and ultimately decided that it didn't materially impact his participation. But laws were later changed. There were regulations to try to stop this thing from happening. But essentially, the local community hated that they were profiting off of these horrible murders. Because people were so angry about this, they had to have like special courtrooms with bulletproof glass because they thought people would be trying to kill them. In the 80s, Hindley was apparently moved by a plea from, I think, Kilbride's mother to find out where her kid is, to find out where he was buried. Mm-hmm. Or no, Kilbride was one of the ones that was found. It might have been Bennett. Either way. So she's like, yeah, I'll help. So they allowed her out under like heavy supervision, and their worry was not about her escaping. It was about people killing her, because they were still in the 80s, 20-something years later, still like really angry about everything that had happened in this little town.
Yeah, because it's children.
Right. So both of them stay silent about Reed and Bennett. Mm-hmm. Hindley tries repeatedly to get parole because back then, maybe it's the same here. Apparently back then, the judge would set the length of time before they could try to get parole, or they could do like a whole life sentence where they're in forever, no possibility of parole. But at that time, it was controlled by the I think the Home Secretary or something like that, one of these positions. It was basically a politician could come in and be like, nope, you were supposed to be able to get in 20 years. Nope, now it's 30. And they would move it. And they wound up actually changing the laws later on where judges, not politicians, make that decision.
It's judges here now. I don't know about them.
Back then, apparently, these politicians, these like lords who were in these positions could do that kind of thing, but they wound up getting rid of that. But yeah, she was serving 2 life sentences plus the 7 years for harboring Brady. So in the early 70s, Hindley, she had maintained that she was still in love with Brady, but they were never able to see each other. Like they thought they might be able to finagle some way that they could get to see each other.
Brady's actually gay and he's having a relationship with the guy in prison, right?
I don't know. He sexually assaulted men, so maybe. But Hindley forms a relationship with Patricia Carnes, or Cairns, one of the, I guess, prison guards. They said that wasn't like a terribly uncommon thing back then because like there'd just be a relationship between guards, prisoners, or between guards and prisoners. Mm-hmm. So not that odd, but they were trying to plan an escape for Hindley and were found out. Somebody intercepted the like impressions that they were making of the keys that they needed, where they were going to try to get copies of them. Yeah. And Carnes is thrown in jail. Yeah. And more time, I think for 5 years, and Hindley's sentence is increased. Hindley then tries to claim that she's like a born-again Christian and that she's reformed and she's a different person and whatever. Like I said, Pauline's body is discovered in 87. In 1990, Home Secretary David Waddington basically sets Hindley a whole life tariff, is what they call it, meaning that she is never
to be let out.
Right. She's not told right away and tries to fight it in the courts. Brady, meanwhile, refuses to really participate in anything. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to mess with psychiatrists. He doesn't want to undergo treatment. He goes on these hunger strikes and is force-fed because the laws, since he's undergoing treatment, they're allowed to force-feed him, and he has like a...
NG tube?
Yes. And like a nasogastric, whatever they call it.
Nasogastric. tube.
Yeah, because he keeps trying to kill himself by starving himself to death.
That sounds like an awful way to go.
Yeah. Well, he wants to die. There's a quoted, I don't even know if it's actually from him. It was just like randomly in the middle of one of the articles. But he's talking about that Hindley died in 2002 at age 60 from respiratory failure.
Damn, that's young.
And that he lived all the way till 2017 and died at the age of 79.
Woo.
He's like, well, she got to go already.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want to be allowed to kill myself.
Yeah.
But they keep managing to stop him. They keep force feeding him. He is officially classified as a psychopath. He requests to be put into solitary confinement when he's first in prison. They eventually, when they decide that he's a psychopath or diagnose him as a psychopath, they move him to a mental facility, and he asks later to be put back in prison. He'd rather be in prison than do that.
Interesting.
Because he thinks that he has a better chance of being able to kill himself in prison.
Oh.
He thinks he has a better chance of starving himself. And I think he tells them at one point that he will tell them where Bennett's body is if they give him the means to kill himself afterwards. And they're like, legally, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So he's like, well,
you're on your own.
Yeah. Good luck. So, yeah. Two people who got like really caught up in researching criminal behavior, Nazis, sadism, all kinds of stuff.
It's really interesting.
And it was so interesting to like, because it's just briefly mentioned in some of the articles that I read, like that, this town thought it had recovered from the Moore murders.
Yeah, like, oh,
so
what's
like,
that?
What are the Moore murders? Yeah, and that led me to this. So I'm skipping over a lot. You can probably tell from the way I'm reading. I don't want to talk about this stuff because it's me. And I don't want to talk about this.
But you're the one that decided to do this episode.
I'm doing it for people to listen to, yeah. If anybody out there actually likes this and to get a taste of what it's like to do your research. But it just seems so statistically unlikely that you have two serial killers operating within the same century in this small town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just find it super interesting that Brady is like, he's not repentant. He never talks about really why he did what he did. There are reports from like cellmates that Hindley admits like, yes, I was there. I actually helped with killing everybody. And she does start to tell the police some more stuff. And then they go and talk to Brady and he just doesn't buy that she actually told them anything. And when he is confronted with like details of their crimes that they wouldn't have known if she didn't tell him, he's basically like, well, yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm already in here. I'm not telling you anything else unless you let me kill myself.
And they're like, not going to happen.
Yeah, they're like, not going to happen. We're going to force feed you. We're going to try to treat you or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Apparently, the outrage was still so bad that there was a point, again, I think in the 80s or early 90s, where Hindley petitions to be reclassified as like a less dangerous type of prisoner. And there was some program going on where they were trying to sort of reintroduce people to the world. They could move them to a lower security type prison. And she was up potentially for one of those. I think she rejected it. But she was doing, probably because it's Carnes, her girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
But she was allowed to go on a walk outside.
Seems like a mistake.
Yeah, she was allowed to start going outside. And that caused such an uproar that the prison officials who allowed it to happen as part of this program were fired.
Really?
Yeah, or either fired or officially reprimanded by the Home Secretary. I think it was eventually fired for it. But yeah, people were that enraged by it for decades.
Yeah.
And there were people protesting her getting out all the way up until when she died.
Dang.
And as far as I know, he is the longest serving prisoner in English or Welsh history.
That's shocking.
Yeah, they said that in 2007, some other prisoner died. I think it was 2007. They said some other prisoner died, and then it became him, Brady, who is now the one who had been in prison the longest.
Yeah.
Because he was like mid to late 20s when he went in and like almost 80 when he died.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn.
But yeah, that one's not medical. The first one was, but we don't know why he did it. And the second one, also super weird, and we really don't know why they did it either.
Yeah.
Other than they were obsessed
with Nazis and
with
sadism and
crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching this YouTube channel that was talking about basically like incarceration rates and like why do incarceration rates and crime rates and murder rates vary in like a predictable way among racial and cultural groups. And basically they were relating it back to fatherlessness. they were saying that, I don't even want to, whatever. I don't like to talk about this stuff, but they were talking about the statistics of it. And they were talking about researchers and authors who'd published books about this stuff before, saying that there is a strong correlation between not having a father figure in the home and men growing up to be criminals or commit crimes or to use violence, in inappropriate ways, not just to protect your family, not just to hunt for food, but like for intimidation, for whatever else.
Yeah.
And they were saying that the increase in crime and violence among the black community increases sort of at the same rate as not having a father figure in the house.
Yeah.
They said it's the same thing with whites. Like the white rate of not having a father figure in the house is now the same as it was for the black community when these reports and books were being written. And that it's just far less likely in the other, like in Asian groups and stuff like that, to not have a father figure in the house. And they were relating it back to, a lot of it back to like social supports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That basically, if you are receiving some kind of government benefit, we know just from our tax returns, if we weren't married, we'd get more money back.
Yeah.
And
we'd be more financially stable.
Yeah, they were talking about specific legislative changes that made it so, like, if the mother and father live separately and I think maybe don't share custody officially, they get more money. They get more like government support. And they're like, basically they're saying this is what caused it.
Yeah.
You give people a financial incentive to not have a family that's all together, and it ends up hurting people.
Yeah.
Like it ends up that the kids don't have the support that they need. White, black, whatever else. It's just across racial lines, you can actually pick out that it's this father figure thing. And neither of these two had a good father figure.
Yeah.
Hindley had a father figure who was violent towards her siblings and her mother, and encouraged and rewarded violence that she committed outside the house.
Yeah.
And allegedly Brady's dad died like 3 months before he was born. He was never particularly close to any of his like foster or adoptive parents, and wound up
hurting people because of it.
Yeah, wound up in like a prison system where the male, I guess, role models that he was probably looking up to were criminals.
Yeah.
And then he looked up to Hitler for some reason.
That's a terrible idea.
It's really interesting. But there's a quote where the Hindley's trying to blame everything on him. She's saying, like, if he had told me that, I don't remember what she said, like that God wasn't real, the earth was flat, the sky was purple, and the sun was going to rise in the west, I would have believed it.
Maybe.
But it's also like, that feels like deflecting.
Yeah.
That feels like you're trying to... There was a point where she was reported to have said, I think to one of her lawyers, that she was worse than Brady because she was the one that lured them in, that he never would have been able to lure these kids in on his own because they wouldn't have trusted him, but they trusted her.
Yeah.
And she took advantage of that.
Yeah.
But
terrible.
It's not like officially documented that she said anything like that or took responsibility like that.
Yeah.
So this has been pretty long, actually.
Really, really long.
So that's 2 stories in one for me. I don't think I particularly want to do this again.
Yeah, that was a whole lot of not talking for me. That was very weird.
Maybe I'll find something else. Maybe I'll just do completely unrelated stuff.
You
Or
should.
we had our other idea earlier today that I texted you about.
Yeah. Although it's kind of weird not talking. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, this might actually be the real season break.
Yeah.
So we will keep everybody posted.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.